Hello guys and welcome back to the Patio C channel. Today we're doing my first sort of sit down video in a while. Obviously I've dropped the Kicking Goals podcast just on the YouTube channel because I've just been struggling obviously to consistently plan them, and now I can just put more time into these videos on making graphics and stuff like that. But without further ado, let's get straight into the video. So today, as you can tell by the title, we are doing the biggest draft steals of all time. Now, I'd just like to start off with a bit of a disclaimer. First of all, Matthew Scarlett and Gary Ablett Jr., who are all taken in 3rd or 4th rounds, were actually father-son draft picks, so I have not included them. And also, I know I may have missed a lot of people, so do not grill me in the comments. I've sort of just thought of a few people, made sure they are actually probably in that steal range, probably pick 24 to anywhere after that range, and I've put around 8 players together, so we'll see. We'll start off, this is not in any particular order either, so we'll start off with Luke Bruce, who recently kicked his 500th goal against Port Adelaide. He was pick 47 in the 2009 rookie draft, so drafted as a rookie, which is really impressive. It's not the national draft, it's the rookie draft. So basically there's a national draft, which is where all the players get drafted and they're signed straight away as, I guess you could call it just normal players on the list. And then there's rookie drafts where people are signed on as rookies, which is like the rookie list, and players can only stay there for a few years before they have to be re-signed. And after that, I don't think they're actually, they'll either get delisted or get re-signed. So Luke Bruce has done very well. He's kicked 504 goals and also played 271 games and still counting. He's a 3-time premiership player and a 2-time All-Australian. He's a small forward, but he's sort of strong enough to hold his own in the marking contest as well. He's just got almost a perfect build for a small forward. He's plenty strong enough to be a target inside 50, and also small and agile enough to crumb the ball and kick crafty goals. So he's a really good mix, Luke Bruce, and credit to him for having a really very consistent career. Really, he's played he's played a good amount of games considering how long he's been in the competition, and you've always known what he's going to bring to the table, and he's just been so consistent. 504 goals, 271 games for a small forward is very impressive. Now moving on to a man who could be in the conversation for the best defender of all time, and his name is Corey Enright, and he was picked 47 in the 1999 national draft. And he played 332 games. He's in second place for most games as a Cat. 66 goals, 3-time premiership player, a 2-time Geelong Best and Fairest, and a 6-time All-Australian, which is super impressive. All-Australian, you're basically, depending on what position you're playing, it basically means you're one of the best in that position in the league. And he's done that 6 times, and he was able to stay in the side and play consistent footy until his very last game, which I'm pretty sure was the 2016 prelim final, and he played in every single Cats premiership. And I haven't really been able to find many clips of him. I'm pretty sure the one you just saw was him running around with his pants off. So he's just an absolute gun, rebounding off half back, and he's kicked 66 goals, which sort of can give you a bit of an insight into his game style. He's obviously a very attacking half back, rebounding, a bit like Andrew Mackie, sort of like Scarlett. Not sure if he kicked that many goals, but just very attacking half backs, which is a great sort of play to have on your team, I guess. And next up we've got Taylor Walker, who I'm pretty sure was taken as the last pick with pick 75 in the 2007 national draft. Now there weren't many picks. Now these days there's around 100 picks every draft, but a while ago there weren't really. I don't think there was 100 picks every draft, and this one went up to only 75 picks, and Taylor Walker was the last man taken. He's about to play 250 games. He's kicked 565 goals. He's Adelaide's all-time leading goal kicker, and he's the Adelaide he was the Adelaide captain for 4 years, 2015 to 2019. He was a 6-time Adelaide leading goal kicker and a 2-time AFL Players Association best captain. It's hard to describe him. He's almost he's not like, they're sort of different builds, Taylor Walker and Tomahawk, but they're both sort of massive key forwards who are really strong and can just throw people around and absolutely bully people. Tom Hawkins is a bit more of a bear. Taylor Walker, he seems to be, I'm not sure, maybe not taller, but sort of leaner and but still really strong. So he's really accurate in front of goal as well, Taylor Walker, and he's just super reliable, and you can tell just by his stats. And I'm pretty sure he sort of didn't properly break out until early 2010s. In, I think it was that 2013 season where Adelaide made the prelim and he started playing some really good footy, and he's just been really reliable ever since then. You always sort of like with Bruce, you always knew what he's going to bring to the table, and he's been really good. He's aged like fine wine, like Tom Hawkins as well. He's been an All-Australian candidate in his last few seasons, so he should be picking up another couple of years on his contract at the max, if I had to guess. So probably could get to 300 games, Taylor Walker, but we'll have to wait and see on him. And we'll move on next to Dane Rampy, who's sort of, it was pick 37 in the 2013 rookie draft. He's sort of like Corey Enright in a way, just a really reliable player. Maybe not as prolific as Corey Enright, but he's just been very, very reliable for the Swans. 214 games, only 7 goals. Sydney co-captain since 2019, an All-Australian, and has won a Sydney Best and Fairest. Really, really solid CV there, and it sort of just screams reliable to you. Like 214 games in 10 years is really impressive. When Sydney was making finals, so you'd almost be playing 50 games every couple of years. So he's just been really reliable and consistent, which is sort of what you'd expect these players to be, as they're not like massively hyped up prospects, but they've all been very, very important to their sides. Maybe an exception was probably Corey Enright or Bruce possibly, and probably Walker as well, who are all absolute superstars. But we'll move on to Michael Walters, who is another absolute superstar. Pick 53 in the 2008 National Draft. He's played 211 games, 331 goals, 5-time Fremantle leading goal kicker, an All-Australian and a Fremantle Life member. And one of those leading goal kicker years was the year where they made the grand final, when he was competing with Matthew Pavlich, who was absolute gun. It was probably their biggest key forward they've ever had, probably their best key forward ever, Matthew Pavlich. I think they might have had Tony Modra for a year or two Fremantle, but that doesn't really count. So Matthew Pavlich, probably their best player ever, Matthew Pavlich, maybe competing with Fife and Mundy, but he's definitely in the top 3. So very impressive from Walters to be able to out-goal him, I guess. But he's sort of the definition of X Factor, really, Michael Walters. He's always been a really, really exciting player, and being able to find spaces and goals where others couldn't dream of kicking, and also just sort of getting into space. I also said that before, but he's not really a mark and goal kind of player, sort of more of a crummer, but a bit of a slim build, very fast, but he's just super dangerous. He can play in the midfield as well, and he's just always, he doesn't need to have too many touches of the footy to make a massive impact, which is a very, very good attribute to have. And I'm pretty sure he's kicked a point on the siren before, like a couple weeks in a row to win them the game, which is pretty impressive. One of them was from 50, and for his size, that's really, really impressive from Michael Walters. But yeah, he's been a class player for Fremantle, and will probably be in their top 10 of all time come the end of his career. And moving on to a man who started off his career slightly slow and almost got delisted from his club before winning the Norm Smith Medal in 2007, and his name is Stevie Johnson, or nicknamed Stevie J. He is a bit of a higher pick, but I've taken him as a steal just because of how good he was. Pick 24 in the 2001 National Draft, 293 games, 516 goals, 16 goals, 3-time Premiership player, 3-time All-Australian, a Norm Smith Medal, and a 2-time Geelong leading goal kicker when he was competing with Cam Mooney, James Podsiadly even, and Paul Chapman, Matthew Stokes, all those guys in the forward line, possibly even Tom Hawkins before the towards the end of his career at the Cats. And he also played at the Giants, where he had a pretty okay debut season there and sort of slowed down in his second season, but he was still an amazing player. And some argue if he played in the prelim in 2016, GWS probably could have had a premiership, but he's a he was sort of built, towards the end of his career, he started to play some midfield minutes as well. When he started pushing 30, he was playing some more midfield minutes than forward minutes. And that's when he was really at his best. He'd be probably that sort of player to get 25 more touches a game and still hit the scoreboard, which is a really dangerous player to have. And he sort of was a player that, I'm not sure if you'd say invented or brought the snap into popularity. I'm not sure if any of the highlights I showed him kicking snaps, but it definitely showed a few good snags. But he was probably the person who brought the snap into popularity, and is probably the reason why we see it today. He was just so good at it, and he'd be able to find goals from ridiculous angles, set shots, look away kicks. He was just such a crafty player, Stevie J, and probably one of my more favourite players of all time, really, which would make me a bit biased. But read his biography. It's really interesting and inspiring at the same time, so I'd recommend it. But he's a class player, Stevie J. And moving on to Rory Sloane, who was taken at pick 44 in the 2008 national draft. He's played 245 games so far, kicked 132 goals, was the Adelaide captain from 2020 to 2022. Has made an All-Australian team, 2-time Adelaide Best and Fairest, and has won a Showdown medal. And keep in mind, he's an inside midfielder, so to kick in 132 goals as an inside midfielder is very, very impressive. He's sort of been playing on the wing recently with Dawson, Ben Keys, and even Berry getting into the middle, but he's still been able to have an impact for the Crows. And he's been probably one of their better players of all time as well, Rory Sloane, or he probably was the, how would you call it, the face of the Adelaide Footy Club, or the paper boy, or something, whatever you call it, the face, I guess I'll just call it the face of the Adelaide Football Club since around 2015, in that time, where he's just been absolute star. Very important to them in 2017 as well, when they had one of their best seasons ever. However, they weren't able to come home with a premiership. But yeah, he's just a very impressive player, Rory Sloane, inside midfielder, tough, and can do just about anything. And moving on to our last person. Now, this person had a pretty controversial end to his career, I'd say. He kicked a lot of goals, and is probably famous for one of the best kicks we've ever seen, and it was a clutch kick as well. And his name's Brendan FEVOLA, and he was taken at pick 38 in the 1998 national draft, which is an absolute steal. He's played 204 games, 623 goals, which is averaging around 2 goals a game. 7-time Carlton leading goal kicker, 2-time Coleman medal, and 3-time All-Australian. He didn't really have too many to compete with when he was in the forward line, other than maybe Eddie Betts. But the way he was able to just take a hold of games and absolutely tear them apart. I'm pretty sure against Essendon he kicked something like 8 goals. He's kicked massive bags in his career and is known for it. He was sort of in a race to 100 with Buddy Franklin, but he fell short on like 95 or something. So he was a very impressive player, Brendan FEVOLA. And we sort of missed out on the later ends of his career. He probably could have played for an extra 3 or 4 years, but just because of some of the off-field controversies he had, he was not really able to hold his spot in an AFL side, because obviously they want to keep the integrity of the game. And although he was a star, if he was any other player, they would have got delisted as well. So he was stood down, I'm pretty sure, at the end of his career. And he ended his career at the Lions, where he played, pretty sure he played 187 games for the Blues. So he played 17 games for the Lions, and he probably still was able to kick 60 goals for them, which is really impressive. Especially given Brisbane didn't really have any massive key forwards. Maybe Jonathan Brown was at the later end of his career in 2010, and if he was competing with him, that would have been even more impressive. And also, Brisbane weren't really they were okay. I think they might have made finals in 2011, but the ball definitely wasn't coming down there that much. So credit to Brendan FEVOLA, he was a class player, and all of these players are really class. And just remember, this is not in any particular order, but if I was to take my pick, it'd be Corey Enright and Stevie J at the top, which is just a joke. But probably the biggest steal from this, not necessarily the best player, but I'd go with Fev at pick 38. He was an absolute star and was probably pushing towards being one of the best key forwards ever before he had to retire early. Just really impressive, Brendan FEVOLA. But anyway, thank you for watching another episode on the Patio C channel or another video, and I'll see you next time.